Commander had seen many worlds. In his 300 years of service to the exploratory fleet, he had visited over 12,000 planets. He had watched civilizations rise and fall. He had creatures that breathed fire and beings that lived in the hearts of stars. Nothing surprised him anymore. Or so he thought. The blue-green planet floated in the like a jewel against the black void of space. The humans called it Earth, called it Sol 3, the third planet from a small yellow star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. His mission was simple: observe, report, do not make contact with primitive species. Science officer stood beside him, his four eyes moving independently as he studied the data streams flowing across his console. Was young by standards, barely 200 years old, but he was the finest scientific mind in the fleet. Atmospheric composition is within acceptable parameters, reported. Nitrogen dominant with oxygen content at 21%. Water covers 70% of the surface. Carbon-based life forms. Electromagnetic signals suggest a pre-warp civilization. They have not yet discovered faster-than-light travel. Clicked his mandibles in acknowledgement. This was standard procedure. Find a primitive world. Study it from a distance. Wait for them to develop space travel before making contact. Simple. Deploy the observation probes, ordered. Focus on the dominant species and their apex predators. I want to understand the power structure of this world. The probes were small, no larger than a human insect. They were invisible to primitive technology and could gather data without detection. Within hours, thousands of them had spread across the planet's surface, sending back images and information. Watched the feeds with mild interest at first. The dominant species called themselves humans. They were bipedal creatures that walked upright on two legs. They had no natural armor, no protective scales or shells. Their skin was soft and easily damaged. They had no claws worth mentioning, no venomous fangs, no natural weapons of any kind. They were slow. Even their fastest runners could not match the speed of many other creatures on their own planet. Their eyesight was limited, especially in darkness. Their hearing was poor compared to many species. Their sense of smell was almost non-existent. By all measurements, humans should not have been the dominant species. They should have been prey. They should have been food for the countless predators that shared their world. And yet they ruled the planet. Leaned forward in his command chair, his interest growing. This was unusual. This required further study. Focus probe 7 on that settlement, the small one near the large body of water. The shifted to show a human community. Structures made of wood and stone and processed materials lined organized pathways. Humans moved about their daily activities, seemingly without concern for predators. Then saw something that made his blood run cold. A small human, a female child according to the translation matrix, was playing in an enclosed outdoor area. She was perhaps 5 or 6 Earth years old, tiny and defenseless. And sitting beside her was a creature that made every survival instinct in its body scream warnings. The creature had forward-facing eyes, the mark of a predator. Its pupils were vertical slits that could adjust to any light level. It had retractable claws that could extend in milliseconds, sharp enough to tear through flesh and muscle with ease. Its reflexes were so fast that even a trained warrior would struggle to match them. Its teeth were designed for killing. Predator detected within the settlement, announced, his voice rising with alarm. Commander, the child is in immediate danger. Should I send an alert to the local? Wait, held up a clawed hand. The child reached down toward the predator, expected blood. He expected screams. He expected the violence that was the natural order of the universe. Instead, the child picked up the predator. She lifted it in her small arms as if it weighed nothing. And the predator, this efficient killing machine, went completely limp. Not in death, but in apparent submission. It relaxed in her grip, its eyes half closed, a rumbling sound emanating from its chest. The child carried the predator inside her dwelling. She was smiling. Could not speak for a long moment. His mandibles hung open in shock. "I have been tracking that creature," said quietly. "In the past solar cycle it has killed 47 smaller organisms, birds, rodents, small reptiles. It hunts with precision and efficiency. It is, by any definition, an apex predator in its weight class. And the human child carries it like a companion." "Commander, there is more." Claws trembled over his controls. "These creatures are everywhere. Nearly every human dwelling contains at least one. Some contain many. They are not prisoners. They are not food sources. The humans, they appear to keep them willingly. They feed them. They shelter them. They stroke their fur and speak to them in soft voices." Stared at the screen where the child had disappeared into her dwelling with the predator. His mind struggled to process what he was seeing. "Show me more," he commanded. The probe sent back image after image. Humans with larger predators, four-legged creatures with powerful jaws and sharp teeth. Humans with serpents coiled around their arms. Humans with birds of prey perched on their shoulders. Humans swimming in waters alongside creatures that could swallow them whole. In each image, the humans showed no fear. In each image, the predators showed no aggression. It was as if some unspoken agreement existed between them, some ancient pact that all logic. "The small predators," said, pulling up data on his screen. "The humans call them cats. They have lived alongside humans for thousands of years. The humans did not conquer them through strength. The cats chose to stay. They chose to live among these soft, weak, slow creatures. Why would an apex predator choose such a thing?" Had no answer. "Continue observation," he ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to know everything about this species. Everything. Do not miss a single detail." As the probe spread further across the planet, as more data flooded into the ship's computers, felt something he had not felt in over 200 years. Fear. These humans, these soft and fragile beings, had somehow convinced the deadliest creatures on their planet to live beside them in peace. They had turned predators into companions. They had made killers into friends. What kind of species could do such a thing? And more importantly, what else were they capable of? Did not sleep that night. He suspected he would not sleep for many nights to come. 3 planetary rotations had passed since the observation began. In that time, Commander had not slept more than a few hours. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw new horrors from the data streams. Science Officer looked even worse. His 4 eyes had developed a permanent twitch, and his scales had lost their healthy shine. He stood at his console, staring at the latest batch of information with the expression of someone who had seen too much. "The domesticated predators were only the beginning," said. His voice was hollow, empty of emotion. "Commander, I do not know how to explain what I have found. I do not know if I have the words." Straightened in his command chair, "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a human female at the edge of a large body of water. The water sparkled blue under the planet's yellow sun. It looked beautiful. It looked peaceful. The human ran toward the water and jumped in. She submerged herself completely, then surfaced with a smile on her face. "That water contains over 47 known pathogens," explained. "Bacteria, parasites, microorganisms that would kill most carbon-based life forms within days. 3 species of creatures with venomous stinging capabilities live in those waters. The salt content alone would cause cellular damage to 90% of known galactic species." Watched the human splash and play in the water. She showed no signs of distress. "How long did she stay in?" "Over 2 hours, Commander. She did this for recreational purposes. They call this activity swimming. They do it for fun." "Fun," repeated. The word felt strange in his mouth. "It gets worse," pulled up another image. This one showed a group of humans sitting around a fire. That alone was disturbing enough. They had created controlled combustion and were sitting mere feet from the open flames, laughing and talking as if they were not surrounded by deadly heat. But that was not the worst part. One of the humans picked up a thin white cylinder and placed it in his mouth. He leaned toward the fire and touched the end of the cylinder to the flames. It began to burn. Smoke rose from the burning end, and the human breathed in the smoke, pulling it deep into his respiratory system. "What is he doing?" asked. "They call it smoking. The cylinder contains dried plant matter that, when burned, releases over 7,000 chemical compounds. Hundreds of these compounds are toxic. Dozens cause cellular mutation and death. The smoke destroys their respiratory tissue over time." Paused. "They do this by choice. They pay currency to purchase these cylinders. They become chemically dependent on the toxins. They poison themselves for pleasure." "Yes, Commander, but there is more." The display changed to show a human gathering. Many humans sat around a table covered with containers of liquid. They lifted these containers and drank deeply. The liquid is called alcohol. It is ethanol mixed with water and flavoring agents. Ethanol is a cellular poison. It disrupts neural function. It damages internal organs. It impairs judgment and motor control. His voice cracked slightly. "They drink it at celebrations. They drink it when they are happy. They drink it when they are sad. They have built entire industries around the production and distribution of this poison." Watched a human stumble and fall, laughing as his companions helped him up. "And they survive this. Their bodies have developed limited resistance to the toxin. They metabolize it over time. They wake the next morning with what they call a hangover, feeling ill and weak. And then, Commander, they often do it again." "I need to sit down," muttered. He was already sitting. "Commander, I have not yet told you about their food." The display shifted to show a human meal. Colorful substances were arranged on a flat circular dish. Some of it looked like vegetation. Some of it looked like cooked animal flesh. All of it looked relatively normal. Then highlighted a small pile of red objects. "These are called chili peppers. They contain a chemical compound called capsaicin. This compound evolved specifically to prevent creatures from eating the plant. It causes intense pain signals in the nervous system. It creates the sensation of burning heat. It is a defense mechanism. So humans avoid them." "No, Commander. They cultivate them. They breed them to be more potent. They compete to consume higher concentrations of capsaicin. They host competitions where humans eat the most painful varieties, and the winner is the one who can endure the most suffering." Stared at the small red vegetables. They seemed so harmless, so innocent. "They eat pain for sport. They eat pain because they enjoy it. They say it adds flavor." Highlighted another item on the plate. "Do you see this cheese, Commander? The one with the blue veins running through it?" "Yes." "Those blue veins are a fungal organism, a mold that attacks organic matter. In most species, consuming this mold would cause severe illness or death. Humans cultivate it deliberately. They inject it into their food. They age it. They pay premium prices for cheese that is more thoroughly infected. They eat mold. They consider it a delicacy." His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "What else? What else do they do?" Pulled up image after image. Humans climbing sheer rock faces with nothing but their fingers and toes, thousands of feet above the ground. Humans jumping from aircraft with only fabric sheets to slow their fall. Humans strapping themselves to boards and riding waves of water that could crush them in an instant. "They call these activities extreme sports," explained. "They deliberately seek out dangerous situations for the excitement. They say it makes them feel alive. It should make them feel dead. Many of them do die, Commander. Their species loses thousands every year to these activities. The survivors continue anyway. They make recordings of their experiences and share them with others, who then attempt to replicate the dangerous behavior." watched a human leap from a cliff, falling for several seconds before a fabric wing deployed behind him. The human soared through a canyon, missing rock walls by inches, screaming in apparent joy. "I need to speak with senior researcher," said quietly. "I need someone who can explain how any species could evolve to behave this way. This defies everything I know about survival instincts. This defies logic itself." "I have already summoned her," replied. "She has been reviewing our data for the past 6 hours." And Four eyes met gaze. "She has been crying, Commander. I did not know could cry, but she has been crying." Looked back at the display, where a human was now preparing to dive from a height that would kill any sane creature. The human was smiling. He looked happy. He looked excited. "These beings are insane," whispered. "The entire species has lost their minds." But even as he said the words, he knew they were not entirely true. There had to be a reason. There had to be some logic behind the madness. No species could survive for thousands of years by being genuinely suicidal. The humans were not crazy. They were something else entirely. Something did not yet understand. And that terrified him more than anything. Senior researcher was the oldest on the ship. At nearly 500 years old, she had studied survival strategies across more species than anyone else in the fleet. She had written books on predator-prey relationships. She had advised military commanders on how to defeat alien enemies. She had seen everything. Until now. She stood before the command staff, her ancient scales pale and her eyes distant. When she spoke, her voice trembled slightly. "I have spent the past 6 hours reviewing the data from Sol 3, she began. "I have cross-referenced human behavior with every known species in our databases. I have run simulations. I have checked my results 17 times. She paused. "I still do not fully understand what I am looking at." Commander leaned forward. "Tell us what you do understand." Activated the holographic display. 2 figures appeared side by side. One was a human. The other was a 4-legged earth creature with a long face and powerful legs. "This is a horse," explained. "It is one of many species that humans have domesticated over their history. Observe the physical differences." The display highlighted various attributes. The horse was larger, faster, and stronger. Its legs were designed for running. Its eyes were positioned for maximum field of vision. Everything about it suggested speed and power. The human, by contrast, looked weak, small, fragile. "In a sprint, the horse wins easily," said. "There is no competition. The horse can reach speeds of 40 miles per hour. The human can barely manage 20 and only for short distances." Admiral, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Then how did humans domesticate such a creature? Through tools, through traps?" "No," shook her head slowly. "They did it through something far more terrifying. They did it through persistence." She activated a simulation. The display showed a human and a horse on an open plain. The human began to walk toward the horse. The horse, seeing the approaching figure, ran away easily. The human continued walking. "The horse runs for a few minutes, then stops to rest," narrated. "It has escaped the threat. It is safe. But the human keeps coming. It does not run. It walks. Slowly, steadily, it follows." The simulation continued. The horse rested, then saw the human approaching again. It ran again. It stopped again. The human kept coming. "This process continues for hours," said. "The horse cannot understand why this creature will not give up. It runs and runs, but the human always follows. And here is the key point." The simulation showed the sun moving across the sky. Hours passed. The horse was now moving slower. Its breathing was labored. Foam appeared at its mouth. "The horse is overheating," explained. "Like most mammals, it cannot efficiently regulate its body temperature during extended exertion. Its internal heat builds up. Its organs begin to fail." On the display, the horse stumbled and fell. The human walked up to it calmly. The horse could not run anymore. It could barely move. "The human is not even tired," said quietly. "It has been walking for 8 hours, and it is barely winded. Do you understand? Humans are the greatest endurance hunters their planet has ever produced." The command staff sat in stunned silence. "How is this possible?" asked. "They have no obvious advantages. How can they outlast creatures evolved specifically for speed?" "Their bodies have several unique adaptations," pulled up a biological diagram. "First, they have almost no fur. Their ancestors lost it millions of years ago. This allows heat to escape from their skin directly." She highlighted the human skin. "Second, and more importantly, they have developed a cooling system unlike anything else on their planet. They leak fluid through millions of tiny holes in their skin. As this fluid evaporates, it carries heat away from their bodies. They call this sweating." "They cool themselves through controlled dehydration?" asked. "Essentially, yes. This allows them to maintain physical activity for hours without overheating. They can run all day if necessary. They can walk for days. Their ancestors used this ability to chase prey across entire continents." The display showed ancient humans, primitive by modern standards, running across vast grasslands. Their prey fled before them, faster and stronger. But the humans never stopped. They followed tracks. They watched the horizon. They drank water when they found it and kept moving. "The prey always died," said. "Not from wounds, not from violence. They died from exhaustion. Their hearts gave out. Their bodies overheated. And the humans, still moving, caught up to claim their prize." Admiral Scales had gone pale. "This is how they hunted, by simply refusing to stop. It is how they survived. It is how they became the dominant species on their planet. And Commander, they have not lost this ability. They have refined it." The display changed to show a modern human race. Thousands of humans ran together through city streets, wearing bright clothing and numbered tags. They run for recreation now. They call these events marathons. The standard distance is over 40 kilometers. Some humans run even further. There are competitions called ultramarathons where humans run for hundreds of kilometers across deserts and mountains. "For what purpose?" "Entertainment, challenge, personal satisfaction." His voice was hollow. "They run until their bodies break down, and then they keep running. They lose toenails. They suffer joint damage. Their muscles tear, and they continue anyway." The display showed footage of marathon runners crossing finish lines. Some were crying. Some were bleeding. Many could barely walk. All of them looked happy. "It gets worse," continued. "Their bodies are not only built for endurance, they are built for recovery." She pulled up medical data. When a human breaks a bone, the bone heals. Over time, the repaired section often becomes stronger than the original. When they tear muscles, the muscles grow back larger. When they suffer wounds, their bodies seal the damage and regenerate tissue. They can lose significant portions of internal organs and survive. We have documented humans living normal lives with only one kidney, one lung, portions of their liver removed. Their immune system is so aggressive that it can sometimes attack their own healthy tissue, a condition they call autoimmune disease. They survive that too. "What kills them?" asked. "Time mostly, disease sometimes, accidents, violence." Paused. "But Commander, here is the truly terrifying part. They are not satisfied with these limitations. They are actively working to overcome death itself." "Explain." "Their medical science is advancing rapidly. They replace damaged organs with organs from other humans or even artificial substitutes. They are developing technologies to repair genetic damage, to reverse cellular aging, to cure diseases that once killed millions." Look directly at. "They have only had advanced technology for a few hundred years. Imagine what they will be capable of in 1,000 years, in 10,000 years." Imagined it. He imagined a species that refused to stop, refused to die, refused to accept any limitation. They are not insane, he said slowly. They are relentless. Yes, Commander, that is exactly the right word, nodded. They are the most relentless species I have ever encountered. They do not accept defeat. They do not accept limits. They will run until their hearts stop, and then their doctors will restart those hearts and they will run again. The command staff sat in silence for a long moment. What do we do? Admiral finally asked. Did not have an answer. Neither did anyone else. Cultural specialist had been reviewing Earth's history and social patterns for 6 hours. When she finally emerged from her research chamber, she walked like someone in a dream. Her eyes were unfocused. Her movements were slow. The other officers stepped aside as she passed, sensing that something had fundamentally changed in her. She entered the command center and stood before the council. For a long moment, she did not speak. She simply stared at where Earth rotated slowly in the darkness of space. Specialist, Commander said gently, what did you find? Turned to face him. There were streaks on her face where tears had dried, did not cry easily, did not cry at all usually, but had been crying. They pack bond with everything, she said. The words hung in the air, waited for more explanation. Every species forms attachments, continued. Parents bond with offspring, mates bond with each other. Some species form social groups for protection or hunting. This is normal, this is expected, she paused. Humans take this instinct beyond anything I have ever documented. They bond with creatures that should be their enemies. They bond with objects that have no life. They bond with ideas. They bond with stories. They bond with beings that do not even exist. She activated the holographic display. An image appeared of a human sitting on a floor, interacting with a small disc-shaped machine. The machine moved around the room on its own, cleaning the floor. This is a simple cleaning device, explained. It has no intelligence, it has no feelings, it is a tool, nothing more. She zoomed in on the human's face. The human has given it a name, Henry. She talks to Henry. She has placed decorative elements on Henry to give him a face. She tells Henry he is doing a good job. The display showed the machine stopping, its power depleted. The human's expression changed to one of sadness. When Henry's power cell failed permanently, the human grieved. She held a small ceremony. She told other humans about Henry and described his personality, his quirks, his favorite areas to clean. His voice cracked. She loved a machine. She mourned a machine. She treated a tool as if it were a member of her family. Admiral shifted uncomfortably. This is unusual behavior, certainly, but why is it significant? Because it shows the depth of their bonding instinct. They cannot help it. They will form emotional attachments to anything they interact with regularly. Anything. Pulled up more images. They write stories about artificial intelligences becoming conscious. In these stories, they fight for the rights of the machines. They argue that thinking machines deserve respect and dignity and freedom. They care about imaginary beings. They care about everything, every creature, every object, every concept that crosses their path. Change the display to show footage from Earth's history. But Commander, this is what truly matters. Watch what happens when they bond with something. Watch what they do. The footage showed a battlefield, explosions, smoke, chaos. Humans in military uniforms ran through the destruction, weapons in their hands. Then one of them fell, struck by enemy fire. The other humans did not flee. They did not seek cover. They turned around and ran back toward their fallen companion. One of them threw himself over the wounded soldier, shielding him with his own body. Others grabbed the wounded man and dragged him to safety, ignoring the projectiles flying around them. This behavior is documented across all of human history, said. They call it leaving no one behind. When a human considers you part of their group, they will risk death to protect you. They will ignore every survival instinct. They will walk into fire. Another image. A structure burning, flames pouring from windows. A human woman ran toward the building while others fled away from it. Her child was inside, explained. She suffered severe burns across 40% of her body. She continued anyway. She found the child. She carried the child out. She nearly died. Paused. When asked later why she did it, she seemed confused by the question. She said it was her child. She said there was no choice. She would do it again. The display changed to show a human with one of the domesticated predators. A dog, remembered. The animal was old, its fur gray, its movements slow. The human was holding the dog gently, tears streaming down his face. This animal lived with the human for 15 years, said. When it became too sick to continue, the human paid doctors to end its suffering painlessly. The human then grieved for months. He could not eat. He could not sleep. He kept the animal's possessions as treasures. He spoke of the animal as if it were a lost family member. For an animal, for a member of his pack, looked at directly. Do you understand now, Commander? When humans accept you into their pack, you become family, not metaphorically, actually. They will sacrifice everything for family. They will die for family, and they will never ever stop trying to protect family. She pulled up one final image, a human astronaut in primitive space equipment floating in the void. In his arms was a small canine, also wearing a custom-built pressure suit. They built a suit for a dog, whispered. They took an animal into space because they could not bear to leave it behind. The cost was enormous. The engineering challenges were significant. They did it anyway, because you do not abandon pack. Stared at the image for a long time. The human's face was visible through his helmet. He was smiling. The dog's tongue was out, apparently happy despite the strange environment. What happens, asked slowly, if they consider us enemies? What happens if they see us as threats to their pack? His expression darkened. Then they will hunt us, Commander. They will hunt us the way their ancestors hunted prey on the African plains. They will never stop. They will never tire. They will follow us across the galaxy if necessary. They will recruit allies. They will build weapons. And they will continue until we are no longer a threat. How can we protect ourselves from such a species? You cannot, shook her head. You cannot defeat a species that refuses to give up. You cannot hide from a species that will search forever. You cannot threaten a species that has already faced death and decided it was not frightening enough to stop them. Then what do we do? Turn to face where Earth continued its slow rotation. You make them love you, she said simply. You become pack. Because if humans decide that you are family, then all that terrifying loyalty, all that relentless determination, all that willingness to sacrifice everything, that becomes your protection instead of your threat. She looked back at. I have studied thousands of species, Commander. I have never seen one that loves as fiercely as humans do. I have never seen one that protects as completely. They are terrifying, yes, but they are also wonderful. If we can earn their friendship, there is no force in the universe that could stand against us together. Thought about the child carrying the predator, the human mourning the cleaning machine, the soldiers running back into danger for a fallen companion. He thought about what it might mean to be loved by such a species. And for the first time since the observation began, he felt something other than fear. He felt hope. The Grand Council of the Federation met only for matters of supreme importance. The chamber was ancient, carved from living crystal that had grown over thousands of years. Light filtered through the translucent walls, casting rainbow patterns across the floor. From 100 worlds sat in tiered seats, their attention focused on the figure standing in the center of the room. Commander had never addressed the Grand Council before. He had never expected to. Fleet commanders dealt with exploration and not with policy decisions that could affect the entire Federation. But what he had found on Sol 3 was too important for normal channels. He began, his voice steady despite his nerves. I come before you to discuss a species we have designated as humans, the dominant life forms of the planet they call Earth. He activated the holographic projector. Earth appeared in the center of the chamber, blue and green and beautiful. By standard measurements, humans should not concern us. They are primitive by our standards. They have not developed faster than light travel. Their technology is crude. Their civilization is young. They have only been a spacefaring species for a few decades. He paused, letting them absorb this information. Physically, they are unremarkable. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. They are slow compared to many species. Their senses are limited. A juvenile could likely defeat an adult human in single combat. Ancient leaned forward in his seat. He was over 1,000 years old, the eldest member of the council. His voice was dry and crackling when he spoke. If they are so weak, Commander, why are you here? Why do they warrant the attention of the Grand Council? Had been waiting for this question. Because they would never face single combat. Humans do not fight alone. They have spent their entire evolutionary history recruiting allies. He changed the display to show a human surrounded by various Earth creatures. Dogs stood at the human's feet, loyal and alert. A cat rested on the human's shoulder. In the background, horses and cattle and countless other species were visible. They domesticated wolves 10,000 years ago and turned them into protectors of their homes. They domesticated horses and used them to cross continents. They domesticated cattle for food and leather. They domesticated cats to control pests. Highlighted each creature as he spoke. But it did not stop with animals. The display changed to show fire, controlled flames in a primitive hearth. They domesticated fire. They learned to create it, contain it, use it for warmth and cooking and protection. Fire became their ally. The display changed again, showing vast fields of crops. They domesticated plants. They reshaped entire ecosystems to serve their needs. They ended famine by controlling the growth of food. Another change: machines, computers, technology. They are now domesticating artificial intelligence. They are teaching machines to think, to learn, to solve problems. Within a few generations, they will have allies that can calculate faster than any organic mind. Looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of after. Humans are not strong because of what they are. They are strong because of what they collect, what they ally with, what they bond with. He took a deep breath. And they will bond with anything. They form emotional attachments to animals, to machines, to ideas, to stories. Once something becomes part of their pack, they will protect it with absolute dedication. He showed footage of human soldiers carrying wounded companions through danger, of civilians risking their lives for strangers, of humans grieving for pets and machines and fictional characters. This is what they do for pack members. They ignore personal safety. They sacrifice themselves. They never give up, never stop, never accept defeat when pack is threatened. His ancient eyes narrowed. You are suggesting they are dangerous. I am suggesting they are both dangerous and wonderful depending on how they view you. Change the display one final time. Humans are the ultimate persistence predators. Their ancestors chased prey across continents until the prey died of exhaustion. They have the ability to maintain pursuit indefinitely. They do not tire. They do not give up. If they see us as enemies, they will chase us across the galaxy. A murmur ran through the council. But raised a hand. If they see us as friends, as allies, as pack, then all of that terrifying persistence becomes our protection. Their loyalty becomes our shield. Their determination becomes our advantage. He stood straight, his scales catching the rainbow light from the crystal walls. My recommendation is immediate peaceful contact, before they develop faster than light travel, before they find us on their own, before they have a chance to see us as potential threats. You want to reveal ourselves to a primitive species? Another asked, shocked. I want to make friends with them while we still have the choice. His voice was firm. Every year that passes, their technology advances. Every decade brings them closer to reaching the stars. When they arrive in the galactic community, They will remember who welcomed them and who ignored them. They will remember who treated them as equals and who dismissed them as primitives. He looked at directly. I have seen what humans do for those they love. I have seen them run into burning buildings for children. I have seen them carry wounded soldiers through enemy fire. I have seen them grieve for animals and machines as if they were family members. He paused. I would very much prefer to be loved by them than to be hunted by them. The council was silent for a long moment. Then spoke. You truly believe they would accept us, despite our differences, despite our appearance? Remembered the footage of the human astronaut holding the dog in space. He remembered the child carrying the predator in her arms. He remembered every image of humans bonding with creatures that should have been their enemies. They have already proven they can love across species barriers. They have already proven they can see family in the strangest places. Yes, I believe they would accept us, and I believe that acceptance would be the greatest alliance our Federation has ever known. The vote was unanimous. 50 years later, the joint human exploration vessel HSS Unity patrolled the outer reaches of known space. Its crew was a mix of species, humans and working side by side, sharing meals and jokes and stories. Lieutenant Commander Sarah adjusted the tiny pressure suit on her cat, Mr. Whiskers, before stepping into the shuttle bay. The cat purred contentedly, accustomed to space travel after years of accompanying his human on missions. Her partner, the younger, clicked his mandibles in amusement. He was the son of the original science officer, and Sarah's best friend since their days at the academy together. You brought the predator again, he asked. Sarah scratched behind Mr. Whisker's ears. He gets anxious when I am away too long. Had long since stopped questioning human behavior. He had simply adapted. He reached out and stroked the cat's fur gently. Mr. Whiskers leaned into the touch, his eyes half closed with pleasure. You know, said, my father told me that when they first observed your species, they were terrified. They thought humans were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Sarah smiled, and now? Now we know the truth. His 4 eyes met her gaze warmly. Humans are not the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They are the most loyal, and we are fortunate beyond measure to be counted among your pack. Sarah reached out and placed her hand on his arm, a gesture of friendship that transcended species. That is what pack does, she said simply. And together, human and in one small cat in a pressure suit, they walked into the shuttle bay to explore new worlds. Together, as pack, as family.